Today is August the 10th of the year 2025. I'm out here scouting for the first time this year. What I'm doing today is I'm just going to a spot that I've never hunted before, and I've never seen a vehicle pulled off in this small little parking lot here ever during hunting season. Today I arrived and I was surprised to see tire marks. I found a little bit of trash that looks like it was left by accident, and some trash was not left there on accident. So there is some activity here. I don't know whether it's other hunters scouting or if it's something else entirely. But I'm beginning my scouting here, and within 10 minutes of leaving the parking lot and heading into the thick brush, I jumped some deer right in front of me in the thick stuff here. Now, this is not uncommon. We have a lot of deer in Pennsylvania. Where I live, I'm very happy with the public land hunting. I wouldn't trade it for anything. In the past, I would take note of this and then I would move on, and I wouldn't really give it the attention that it deserves. This deserves attention. Being so close to the road and the parking area is what everybody overlooks, because I used to do the same thing. And it takes a lot of strategy, it's almost counterintuitive to shoot these public land bucks and does. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to focus on this band of cover, and I will scout it as it parallels the road for sure. If you take a video camera with you when you're scouting, like I am, don't be afraid to use it when you get under some oaks and look at the tops of the trees, and just use the rangefinder. In my case, I have a long distance. It's a 20 power zoom that I can use with this camera. And this is not an expensive camera. It's an old Sony or Canon, I believe. And zoom up to the top of the trees and try to see if you can see any acorns. You don't actually have to have binoculars, because I don't have them with me today. So I'm gonna continue right in through this super thick stuff here and take my time and find out exactly where I jump these deer. And I'll take this seriously, because a lot of hunters won't, because it's just too close to the parking lot. It's too close to the road. So as you can see, we're getting some thick stuff. I'm gonna temporarily possibly cut this camera and then show you what kind of beds I'm finding. But it's nice and cool in here too. So one of the reasons why the deer are in here now is to stay cool. So what do we have here? We've got briars, green briars all around me. That's what the deer are bedding in. The green briars can hold deer for a long time. So that's good. And the green briars serve two purposes. It's both cover and food. Never forget that. So I'm going to putt around here and see if I can find a bed or two. So right here we have a trail. This is the trail right there. It's coming through this briar thicket, and I am going to do my best to follow it and hopefully find a bed or two here. It is thick. It's supposed to be thick. So let's meander down here. I think so that we've got some tracks here. It's just does most likely, but where there's does, there may be bucks. All right, let's go here. I like these these fallen down trees we got ahead of us. They usually, like right here, they often lay just at the base of those and thick cover. Great bedding spot. The wind is coming basically from the road to where I am, so they're really well protected. Might be a place to consider it for the morning. All right. See, this dead stuff falling down right in front of me. This is excellent cover. last year I focused on finding white oaks, and what I found was red oaks everywhere. I mean, red oak acorns everywhere. The whole sides of the mountains were covered with red oaks last year, and I struck out as to finding a good early season hunting strategy, especially up in the big woods. So this year I decided to do things a little differently. So my plan is to, number one, look for wild cherry trees, and number two, then look for crabapple trees. Those first two, and then also look for the white oaks, because if you can find a white oak that's dropping and has fresh deer sign, that's going to be an absolute magnet. Deer love all three of those foods, and there is probably not one that's better than the other. If you find white oaks that are dropping, cherries that are dropping, or crab apples, pick your three. Pick whatever you want and scout it, and then if it looks good, set up and hunt. What I found today is my first day out scouting, and the season's only 5 weeks away. I found that, yeah, it's still hot as hell. I'm out here, it's in the 80s. It's miserable, but I do know that sweating it out a little bit now will likely end with at the very least, an opportunity in the early season. But hopefully we'll get a doe on the ground. And if there's a big buck that's going to act stupid during that first week, well, we could end up with a set of wide antlers as well. So in this particular area, I found that there's wild cherry trees. They're rather abundant, but they're small, but they're there. You know, the crop of the cherry trees in this area, I'd say it's like 50% of what it could be. So it's not bad, it's average. And I was going to originally try to find a clump of trees and find the deer sign and stuff. But what I decided to do is, there are too many cherry trees and they're just randomly spread out in this low meadow type area. So I'm not going to hunt a specific tree at all. But what I am going to do is I'm going to scout the entrance ways, the trails that are coming in to these feeding areas. So behind me is a meadow, and deer like to feed on these meadows because there's tremendous open browse here. The sun comes down all the time. And there is one lone cherry tree, maybe 75 yards back there. I'll show you on the way out. So now it's extremely hot and it's thick. And during this time of the year, the deer definitely hang out low. They like those low drainages. Hopefully there's water in the area, but the reason why is because it's cooler down in the shade. That's the coolest part of this area. So that's where they're coming through. I found a pretty good heavy main trail here, and it's got different sized tracks. It's got does. It's got potentially be a buck for sure. And I'm gonna monitor it over the next few weeks. I'm gonna give this area a few weeks to collect some pictures and data, put it in my PC, and see what's coming through here. See this indentation in the ground here, this line? It's actually a deer trail, and they're coming right out of this thicket where they bed. They're coming right along through here, and they filter right under this wild cherry tree, which is right here. Now, this cherry tree has hundreds and hundreds of small cherries. They're all small around this area. They still have another maybe 3 weeks to go for growing, and then they're going to drop. And I hope that they're dropping when the season opens. But even if they're not, the deer are in the habit of coming through here. I should be good. I'm set up about 100 yards away, much closer to the bedding area. Like I'll probably be setting up within easily 50 yards of the deer being bedded. But when they come by me, they can see the little cherries. It'll be too late if there's a healthy doe in there, or if there's a 3.5-year-old buck in there. He won't make it either. So this trail, it will be pounded in about a month when these cherries drop. It's not pounding. It's not pounded now. If this were private land, I'd go ahead and set up a camera around here because it's just easier to check. but it's not. It's private. I mean, this is public land. I hunt exclusively public land, except for one small trip I take with my father when I hunt private land for a week. So you have to be kind of discreet with your cameras. You need to set them up in a way that people are not going to find them. You just don't want them way out in the open here, because people will mess with them. They'll do all kinds of stuff, including stealing them. So you got to be a little bit discreet with your camera. So I have it set up where somebody's not going to see it unless they're walking into thick stuff. And I'll be able to check that camera in a couple weeks and see what's coming in and out of there, when it's coming in and out of there, and develop a hunting strategy based on that. So I've done my cherry tree scouting. Next on the list is crab apples, and that'll be it for today. Next time I come out scouting, I'll be looking for white oaks. I'm going to take my binoculars. Make sure you have binoculars when you go out pre-season scouting, because you're going to have to use them to look at the tops of the trees if you're scouting before they're really dropping. But if there's white oaks and you can see them, and it looks like an abundant crop, and you're in thick cover in a traditional area where you know there are deer, you need to either set up a trail camera or set up a ground blind, or pick out a tree and just put that on your map for early season hunting. The early season hunting can be really dynamite, but you have to do your homework, because there's food everywhere and you need to find the food that's predominant at the time when the season opens. The second spot I'm checking today is a spot where there's some small crabapple trees. And a couple of years ago, there were a few of them dropping crab apples, and it was torn up. I got some good pictures of bucks during the rut. It was active. Bucks were mostly here at night. In fact, I think they were pretty much all here at night. The does were here at any time of the day. So it might be a great place just to fill a doe tag in the early season. And this is the kind of spot that I want to hunt the first week, because I want to catch these deer before anybody else catches on to it. So that is going to be a draw in this area, the fact that I only found one. So the setup is real simple. Simply, there's a tree right there, 10 yards away. I don't need to do any preparation. It's already set. And I'm simply going to sit within 10 yards of it with a recurve bow and simply catch whatever adult doe comes in here. If I'm lucky, an adult buck might. But it's going to be just probably a one-shot deal. And I want to be the one to hunt it before other hunters catch on to it. Because this is the only crabapple tree that I found, and because there's a decent amount up high, this is a spot where I'm just going to sit directly over top of it. I'm not going to try to figure out how they're coming in here, because I don't know. Just get up in a tree stand, and hopefully my wind stays above them, and we'll hope for the best. Now you can see above me, you can see, I'll show you up the top of this little tree here. If I zoom in a little bit, you might be able to see some of these crab apples. But they're up there. I can see them with my naked eye. I don't know if they're picking up on the camera, but this is the spot. I am now approaching thick cover that borders these chestnut oaks that I hunted last year. And I found an old rub, which there's one right there. There's actually a lot of rubs in this area, but it's against the thick cover. And then I found another one in here, and underneath that pine, there's a little one. And then when I was stopped and I was thinking about, wonder if a deer, still uses this area. And immediately a big animal got up in this thicket in front of me and thundered out of there with hooves hitting rocks and stuff. A solitary animal is more than likely a buck. So my plan of action is to find his bed and then look at all the trails that he seems to be using. Wherever the freshest sign is, I'm going to post a camera or two so that I can get a good look at him. decide if I want to hunt him. Now, I probably did jump him literally right out of his bed, so I'll have to be cautious to figure out exactly where I'm going to set the cameras so that I can check the camera without spooking him. If for some reason I can't, then I'll just come in here and set up once I discover his favorite trails. So let's take a look. I walked 20 yards into the brush after I jumped that big solitary animal, and there's his bed right there. That's it right here in the center. You can see where something's been laying. That's it right there. So I know what his preferred bed today. He probably has other beds in the area, and I do need to find them and study his trails, exits, and entrances, and do multiple things. Include obviously setting an ambush point, whether it can be from the ground or a tree stand. And I am going to monitor this area with trail cameras for sure, because I want to see what kind of deer he is. I couldn't get a look at the rack when he was plunging through thick brush, but it's a lone deer, it's by itself. Almost positive it's not a doe. So there's going to be some cameras set up here. I'm just going to do some scouting in this area, kind of do circles around this bed and learn how he's getting in and out of here. Do a lot of damage today as far as scent goes, and then more than likely I should probably never come back until I hunt it. So I'm going to devise a plan here today, learn something. I don't think I'm going to have competition from other hunters. I'm in the Bigwoods setting here, and there's just so much space. And I think there's more bucks than there are hunters, so it should be fun. So I'm standing at the edge of this big bed right here where I jumped this buck when I was scouting just 10 minutes ago. And he went through this thick stuff. There's another bed about 8 feet right there. You can see the indentation, but this is his main bed. It's all matted down. And there's old droppings here, which means he's been here for a while. And all I need to do is figure out his preferred trails in and out of here, because once you know where a buck beds, you have a much, much greater chance of killing him than if you don't. And I would like to find a way to set up some trail cameras here so that I can see exactly what I'm hunting, but it's certainly not necessary. And I certainly won't set them up if there's no way I can check them without alerting him that I'm in the area. So this being the main bed where I believe I jumped him, and here's a secondary bed here. Right in the middle is a buck rub, obviously from last year. So he's probably at least a 2.5-year-old, probably a pretty decent buck. And I was looking around and I found only one trail leading out of this bed right down here. I don't know if you can see through the camera, but it's the only trail that I can see leading out of here, which is good. He's really got himself a nice little hermit house up here. So I'm just gonna follow this trail here. It's the only one that I see leading out of this thick stuff. And follow it down there. I do see a second one right here. I just noticed. There is a second one here. It's not as well used though. I'm gonna stick. Let me see if there's one more here or not. Okay, there's an old buck right there. Okay, I'm gonna follow the most obvious one. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so what we have here underneath this old buck rub here, that's fresh sign right there. Let me zoom in. Now that's obviously from today. It's all shiny, and he dropped that probably and was bedded, and I spooked him, and he just went flying through that brush. I don't know how they do it, but they do. He's backed up against some good thick cover behind them here. It's a great place to avoid hunters. So I'm gonna again use his main trail that I see, which is right back here, and follow that down here. See where it takes us. All right. So from here, it kind of branches out. Could go left, continue to go down this. Yeah, he's got a great place in here. It's like sometimes he goes to the left here, other times he goes straight down. I'm just gonna keep going straight down though. Oh yeah, there's briars, but that's good. That keeps other hunters out. This is where I would set up, and I just don't see any reason to set up a trail camera in here to help me with my first hunt. It just would do more harm than good. So the best thing I can do is just mark this area, and I may or may not set markers like to get here in the morning. I'll think about that. But I do need to be able to find it and come back here and hunt it. But my decision has been made. It's an easy one. I like it when it's easy. I just put the puzzle pieces together, and it should be a good spot. I came in here earlier with the wind in my face, and I decided to scout the edge of this thick area here, and that's when I jumped a big solitary animal bedded by itself, which I found his droppings. I found two of his beds adjacent to each other. I found a main trail coming out of the thick area where he beds, and then it forks. One trail goes into the thicker bedding area, but then this one comes out into more open woods, and with the possibility of him coming out here and using this old, very old logging road here. This thing has not been used, seems like, in 100 years, but it's here. At one time it was used, and the deer will definitely travel this trail for the ease of travel. So what I predict he'll do is he'll come out of the bedding area and hit this logging road and travel to his destination, which could be chestnut oaks, could be black oaks, white oaks, red oaks, whatever the hot menu item is. I think this is his easiest exit out of here. Now the wind is blowing in my neck, against my neck. It's going right up to where he was bedded about 20 minutes ago. There is absolutely no way I can hunt this in the afternoon. There's no way. And he's bedded in a great position. It's like his castle. I think it's a pretty good buck. And I'm going to be surprised because the first time I see him, probably when I'll be behind a bow. That's old-fashioned style hunting, no trail cameras, nothing. There's no way I can monitor this with trail cameras at this close range to his bedding area and not be detected. So the only way to hunt this deer is to come in the morning and set up. At that time, my thermals will be going down the mountain. And his approach to the bedding area, I'm hoping, will be utilizing this old logging road here. I'm just hoping that's what he does. And I'm literally within 50 yards of his bedding area. So again, I want to set up with that in mind. So the only effective way that I can think of to hunt this would be to get here in the morning and try to catch him coming into this bedding area. Now he could come in, but based on my scouting, he will come in through here. This will probably be his. And if it's not, I may get lucky and catch him later in the day. But I'm pretty excited about this. I'm gonna mark it, and then I'm gonna mark a trail to get in and out of here to find this area in the morning. And so when I give this a shot, one of my successful strategies is to hunt all day. If I have the whole entire day off from work and I can go hunting, this is my number one passion in life. This is what I'm going to do. The longer I stay into an area where a deer is likely to move through, the better my chances go up. They just keep increasing until I either harvest the deer or the deer detects me, and then it's moving on to the next spot. If I do everything right, I should get a chance at a nice buck here. And even if it's only, a nice heavy 2.5-year-old, I'll probably take him, because this will be my very first mountain buck. And if it's a big doe, and I don't think it is, but if it is a big doe, I will take her too, and then worry about how I'm going to get her out of here. But it'll be an all-day job, an all-day hunt, and it's going to be a lot of work. But when I look back on these hunts, years later, I'm going to really appreciate the fact that I went all out, following my passion in life, doing what I love to do, making time for my passion to be fulfilled. I'm marking my path back to the truck, and I walked into the spot that I hunted last year, where there were tons of chestnut acorns on the ground. I'm already finding fresh acorns. These green ones, these are the ones you want to look for. These green guys here. And they're falling now. I think it's a mixture of red, chestnut, maybe black. But I'm going to keep this area as an afternoon hunt, because I know they come through here in the evening, because they came through last year when I was trying to set up cameras. There's a lot of acorns on the ground here. I see caps too. Yeah, there's a lot on the ground here. They're going to hit this real heavy here soon. Now, this is a place where I will go downwind of them. I'm literally going to look. Here's a rub right here. Here, check this out. I'm going to look at these rubs and simply pick out an ambush spot for an evening hunt after work. This would be great. Now, this is a pretty good rub from last year, and I'm simply going to find an ambush spot, downwind of this, which is just downwind of the feeding area. I mean, this doesn't have to be rocket science. This is real simple. Ambushing deer as they're coming into a feeding area, they have a tendency to swing downwind and then come in with the wind kind of at a quartering angle into the feeding area, so that they can check for predators. They can also check for other deer or the smell of acorns. I'm going to look for a ambush point where I can get a tree stand in, because I really like the mobile tree stand advantage when hunting with a recurve bow is critical. I plan to do my hunting this year with a recurve bow, so I'll be using the portable stands a lot. Here's a nice open area here. It'd be great for getting shots off. So there's a lot of little trees here, but they would hold a stand. Let's walk down here a little ways. You can see a tree right here. That would be good. It's a little bit stouter than the other ones, and it can hold a stand pretty well, and it's not going to be moving when I hunt out of it. This one right here. So this stand, or this tree, is a potential one. Yeah. And has good shooting lanes, natural shooting lanes. Yeah, really nice. I'll probably use this one. There's another option up here. This one here, but no, this doesn't have shooting lanes, but that one does. So yeah, this will be it. This has nice open shooting lanes in 100, wow, almost every direction except for right behind the stand here. This will be great, I can tell you right now. I can almost guarantee you that I will probably take hopefully a nice mature mountain doe here. possibly a buck, but I think there are does that coming through here. There was one heck of a rub line last year though, but whether or not a buck would walk through here during daylight in October is another thing. I'm going to go ahead and mark this tree as well, and that way there's no mistaking when I come back to hunt it. And there's no preparation involved whatsoever. It's everything's set up. It'll be a fun hunt.